it wasn't planned. I wasn't planning on making political music, but if I'm going to tell the truth about what I live every day, it's going to get political and people are going to have to hear it, even if they're uncomfortable.
I feel it when I'm next to you.
Oi, gente, tudo bem? Sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um episódio do Universo Alfa. Hoje a gente tá com a cantora e baixista Adi Oasis. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
How's your day so far? How are you?
It's just starting. My day is just starting. So I'm starting with you, which is great. Thank you for the big smile. And I'm super happy to be here in Sao Paulo.
And it's not your first time here in Brazil, right?
Yes, it's not my first time, but it's my first time performing as Adi Oasis. I've come in the past, but to be with other people as a bass player.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a big girl now.
Now you're playing solo since 2018?
Yes.
And it's your first time doing a solo show here in Brazil.
Yes. First time.
How,
and not the last, I hope.
And how are the expectations?
You know, just the fact that I'm here, I'm already, like, all my expectations I've already surpassed, you know? The fact that I have an audience in Brazil, it's a dream come true. So I know the audience here gives it. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm super excited.
And how is your relationship with Brazilian fans in general? Do you think they give you a warm welcome?
Yeah, it's very special. Like that, you know, I see it especially in my social media. And what I love about the Brazilian audience is most of the time they'll put a Brazilian flag next to the comments. So I'm like, at least I can tell who's Brazilian or not. And it's always so positive and encouraging, and it's gonna. I can only imagine what the show is gonna feel like.
And we have a lot of artists say this because Brazilian fans in general just leave a comment saying, come to Brazil, come to Brazil, come to Brazil.
Yeah.
We are needy. We're a very needy crowd, just wanting artists to come here.
Yeah, and I'm here.
And talking about Brazilian crowds, I wanted to start the interview by asking you about your feat, your partnership with Lued and Luna, because you released recently the single.
Yeah, last
and I
week.
wanted to ask you about how this relationship came about, where the idea came from.
So the song is called Multiply. It was already out, and we wanted to do a remix of it. I knew that, and with my team, we wanted to do something for Brazil. We wanted to do something in Portuguese, just because there's an audience here, and I wanted to do something that just connects me with them. I've been a fan of Luigi for a while. She's amazing, right? Everybody loves her. And I thought about her for this song because I know that she's also a mother. This song is about motherhood and femininity and sensuality. And she represents all of these things, and she's very vocal about it. And so when she said yes, I was just very, very happy. And I forgot the mic, sorry. And she's just so perfect for this song.
Because your styles, they really mix together, I think. There are some similarities, I think.
Yeah, she's another like Black woman R&B soul, and like she's kind of like in that world in Brazil, and I'm that in the United States. So it represents a lot. It's like a bridge between like American music and Brazilian music through soul music, you know?
Yes, because when we talk about Brazilian music, we have a lot of different genres. It's very diverse. But here we have a lot of new artists who have these influences from R&B, soul, funk. Would you say these are your major influences as well?
Yeah, for me, definitely. I also listen to a lot of Brazilian music, like especially when I started playing bass, but more like Brazilian music from the 60s, 70s. And I really like the movement that's happening here, like the newer R&B artists. Like there's Luigi, there's Lineker, there's Xenia França. Like I'm really like, I'm paying attention to the scene. I'm a fan. They're my friends. I love these girls.
So nice. And from the 60s and 70s, is there any artist that you are a fan of? Do you listen to more?
Yeah, so many. I did like a cover of a Cassiana song, Onda, on bass, and a lot of the Brazilian audience really was into it. I love, Sérgio Mendes too, for like the bass lines. A lot of that stuff I just listen to, and just for bass. There's a long list. You guys have legends here. Amazing music.
And also you have a lot of influences that are not always from United States. It's so nice because a lot of people who international artists, they don't see the music that's outside of their country, but I see your references are from all around the world.
You'd be surprised. Most artists that I know in New York, especially in the US, like in funk and R&B and soul music, they know Brazilian music. Like they know Brazilian music. I'm not American originally. I grew up in France. So I grew up with a different kind of music. I mean, American music was very influential in my life since I was a little girl. But my father's from a Caribbean island called Martinique. And we have our own sound. The culture is actually very similar to Bahia. I was hanging out with Luigi last night and we were talking about the similarities that exist between our two places. So we have like our own music. It's called Zouk. We like have our own culture too. So I grew up with all of these different types of cultures.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your most recent album, Lotus Glow, which was released in 2023. What were the inspirations for this album? You talk a lot about femininity, blackness in general. You have some powerful lyrics as well. And so what are the inspirations for this album?
I talk about my story. It felt like this album came at a time where I felt confident in my shoes as a solo artist, who I was. I changed my name to Adi Oasis. And it felt like the beginning of something. That's why it's called Lotus Glow, like the lotus flower blossomed. And I just felt like it was time to share my story and share my perspective of the world. And it gets political at times because I'm a woman of color who's an immigrant living in the United States in a system that's not always favorable for us. And I just, it wasn't planned. I wasn't planning on making political music, but if I'm going to tell the truth about what I live every day, it's going to get political and people are going to have to hear it, even if they're uncomfortable.
It's because we associate politics with one thing, but talking about your experience, talking about day-to-day experience can be political as well.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that when you come from a place of so personal, I think it enlarges the work that you are doing. I think people who are listening may identify as well, right?
Yeah, and that's what took me a long time to be comfortable with, is really talk about myself and my songs. And it seems easy when you say it, but it's hard to do because you really have to like not care about what people are going to think of your music or your art. And I'm learning that the more personal I am, the more relatable I am, because we're all humans and we really don't have that many different experiences. We all go through the same things.
And the process to compose the album, how is your creative process? Do you do playlists? What do you do to get in the mood to write, to compose?
For this album, a lot of it was jamming with the musicians, who are all amazing. Like, just read their names, and so it was a lot of it. I wanted to be to feel live. Like, I wanted it to reflect how I perform live. So yeah, a lot of it is just came from jamming and just freestyling and just kind of, keeping the first idea is very often what I like to do.
And I wanted to talk, you were saying about your lyrics being the inspirations from being a Black woman, talking about femininity in general. And I wanted to highlight one of the songs when I listened to the album. It really got me. There are a lot of great songs, but for instance, Red to Violet, it has a really powerful lyric, I would say, because you say, I'll take the pilot seat.
Yeah.
You ain't never giving me nothing. That's and it's in such a soft voice that you sing it, but it's also so strong. And I wanted to talk more about this music. Could you explain a little bit more about the inspiration?
Yeah, I was talking about myself, and like, I just feel like in general in the world, like, women of color are like the most marginalized. We're just not really taken seriously. And it's difficult to explain it because no one really sees their own bias or their own racism. And it may very often people don't necessarily have bad intentions, but you'll just you'll see someone and you'll just assume, oh, she can't do this. And that's how you know that there's a problem. And it's important to call it out. And I think that we need to change the perception that we have of women in general and women of color, and our capability of doing things. And with the pilot seat, has always been, for most of the time, 90% of the time, occupied by white men. And it's not working. The world is a mess right now. And let's try something else. Let's try to have women presidents, and let's try to see women of color, immigrants, transgender people, everybody that's different. Let's try to imagine, what if they had a little bit more of a voice, if they were CEO of a company, if they were scientists, if they were president, why not? Let's try that.
And you pay tribute to, in one of the other songs, you pay tribute to the tennis, Serena Williams. Why did you choose this figure in particular to pay an homage?
For the same reasons. I've been a huge fan of Serena. I'm a huge fan of tennis, and it's weird. It was weird for me to I was like, am I gonna have a tennis song? That's so strange. But the drummer that I wrote this song with, actually, it sounds, if you listen to the drum, it sounds like kind of like the footwork of a tennis player. So that's how I had the idea. And I admire Serena Williams, and for the same reasons, similar to Red to Violet, that's why the songs are close to each other in the album on purpose. She is the best representation of people's bias, because a lot of people will look at Serena and the way they will treat her and with the things they would say about her, they won't necessarily realize themselves that they're racist, but she is a good barometer. And she was this amazing, undeniable talent, and people still find a way to bring her down. Oh, but she's winning, and tennis is the most objective thing that there is. It's you against someone else, and if you win the match, you're just the best. No one can question that, and she's just undeniably the best. And I wanted to highlight the fact that she's been such a hard worker and such a leading force and an inspiration for me. And she won the Australian Open while she was pregnant, which is in full circle moment. A year later, I'm promoting that song while pregnant on tour. So it was just all meant to be.
Oh my God. And I wanted to talk to you about this as well, because you said it before, that maternity influenced you, changed your life in some ways. But what would you say that changed for you? How was this experience for you?
Ooh, I'm still in the middle of it. My baby's 6 months. I have my breast pump in a bag right here, and I'm gonna have to pump after this interview. I'm still in the middle of it. So I might be able to answer this question better later, but I guess as a mother, it's just never ends. Your baby's growing before your eyes, and she's teaching me more than I'm teaching her. She's teaching me about myself. I've learned the limitless nature that women have. And again, going through motherhood right after promoting this album made me understand even more why it was important to write an album about being a woman, because it's just what we go through is whoa, it's hard and it's beautiful and it's so unique.
This experience, motherhood in general, influenced you to write new songs about this experience?
Yeah, right now I'm only writing baby songs. I'm constantly writing songs for my baby, and it sounds like a Broadway musical in my house. It's really annoying. She has a song for the bath. She has a song for when she wakes up. She has a song for changing the diaper. It's time to make adult music. But I haven't had the time yet, but I can't wait to sit in the studio and see what comes out. It's gonna be very special.
I can only imagine, because you said it yourself that it's hard to talk about personal things, but it also makes you so relatable. So yeah. I think a lot of people will listen to and just relate to it.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a lot about this experience. And I feel like I'm just a whole new person. It's a different version of me that I'm getting to know. And I just... when you become a mother, you just take on a new identity. It's I'm myself, but I'm a mother, and it's a whole new dimension. It's exciting.
And you did the tour while pregnant.
Yeah, I did.
wasn't it a challenge in any way? Because it's a physical effort as well, just to do a lot of shows and to travel from place to place. I imagine it was a challenging experience for you.
It was so hard. I'm probably never doing that again. I think I need to be pregnant again just to experience being pregnant without touring. Again, it's not me. It's just like women are capable of doing amazing things. Like giving birth is like, I'm not going to give you the details, don't worry. But you just do what you got to do. And I was lucky enough that I had an easy pregnancy. I mean, the beginning was tough, but then I was just functional and I just had to keep going. And it just all made sense, to be on stage singing these songs about these lyrics while carrying life. It was just, it turns out that was in the cards for me. I had no idea, but that was my destiny and I did it, made it happen.
Oh, that was so powerful. Just you just saying your destiny. I'm really touched with what you're bringing. And I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about your musical as an instrument player, not as just as a singer, because you play a lot of instruments, but people in general recognize you from being a bass player. And I wanted to ask you first, what drove you to this instrument in particular?
Destiny. Again, I was my first group in New York after I moved to New York from Paris. We had a rehearsal and the bass player canceled. And the guys were like, hey, you play guitar. Why don't you just play bass? That's how I started playing bass. And I grabbed the bass and like my whole life changed. Like everything made sense to me. I fell in love with the instrument. I already loved the sound of the bass. Yeah. And I just locked myself in my apartment for 2 years and practiced and learned how to play bass.
And it's your favorite instrument to play, would you say?
Yeah. Favorite to hear, to play. It's just something about it, even the way it looks. I'm just like in love with the whole thing.
And what are your major influences? Other bass players that you admire?
Bass? Yeah. Oh my God, so many. My favorite his name was Lucky Scott. He's not that known, but he played bass for Curtis Mayfield. So that Superfly doom, 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 doom. Like for instance, all these like iconic bass lines. I also really love Bootsy Collins, Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone. God, so many, yeah. But these and Michelle Ndegeocello, who's a female bass player who I absolutely admire too.
And when you were composing the album, you had that thought also just to bring some of the songs to bring the bass as like a major instrument.
I don't think about it. It's always there. It starts with the bass line.
Always.
Yeah. Or the composition, the chord progression, but the bass line comes. It's about, you got to lay the groove, the foundation first, and then the melody comes after. The melody you can just adapt, For me, there are different ways of writing songs, but for me, it's you got to set up the groove first. Are you going like this? If you're not going like this, next, change it.
Another composition, another song.
Yeah, you can always find a new idea. There's only 12 notes, It just you gotta make it feel good. That's what Morris White from Earth, Wind and Fire said. Music is supposed to feel good, so it has to feel good. It's about the feel first.
And is he a major influence for you, would you say?
Yeah, Earth, Wind and Fire is one of my favorite bands. Verdine White, actually, who's the bass player, who's still out there killing it, is one of my major influences too. I would love to meet him one day.
That would be explosive.
Yeah,
feat,
and Earth, Wind and Fire is very influenced by Brazilian music, like the horn lines and stuff. There's like a exchange between Brazilian music and Earth, Wind and Fire. If you listen to like Sérgio Mendes' music, and you can really, really hear it. And yeah, so it's part of the same thing. It comes from the same place. It's about the groove.
It's something that moves people.
Yeah, you feel it. You just feel it. You can't describe it.
And I wanted to ask you also, you come from more the alternative scenery in New York, in the United States. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see the alternative music scenario nowadays?
We need to get paid more. I think that there's something great about streaming because it allows artists to get out there and get to be known without necessarily signing to a major label that's going to take all of their money. But we need to find a middle ground with supporting artists at my level. When you have like 40 million streams on a song and you're still only not paying your rent with it, there's a problem. And that's my case. And it's the case for so many artists that are at my level who, like, we are full-time artists. We make a living from making music. We don't have time for another job. And people want to hear our music, but they don't want to pay for it. And it's not their fault because the consumer is just going to take what it's given. And if you pay $10 a month to hear as much music as you want, of course you're going to do it. But there's something has to be done in how the money is redistributed to us. It's not normal that I'm 8 months pregnant and I have to perform to pay my bills while I have 30 millions of streams on a song. It's just not okay, and it has to change. And that's the next thing I'm talking about. Like, that's the next fight, and it's not okay. So that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, because you say you are a full-time musician because you're doing tours, you're traveling. Of course, you are dedicating yourself to your art, and everybody deserves to be paid for the job they're delivering.
Yeah, and being paid for shows is one thing, but and that takes a while, and I that also has to change a little bit in a way that, I mean, I don't know about Brazil. In America, for instance, venues take a big cut. Like sometimes, for instance, you'll have a $25 ticket and the artist, I only get $6 out of it. But the people are coming to see me. So that's another issue. But really to get like 0.000 cents, 0.1 on a song for streams, I couldn't live off of just my streams, but I have millions of streams. How's that possible? So if I'm not touring, I can't pay my bills. And that's not okay because I have an audience.
That's insane because a lot of artists to reach to this level, to millions of players in in Spotify and in streamings in general, it's really unaccomplished by itself.
Yeah.
So it's insane to me that you're saying something like that.
We're not getting paid. I mean, for 1 million streams, there's about $4,000 that goes. If one song gets 1 million streams, it generates about $4,000. $4,000 for 1 million. And that $4,000, half of it goes to the label, and then the rest is distributed between the different writers. So out of 1 million streams, I make about maybe $1,000, and I write my songs.
That's insane. I'm beginning to get revolted.
Yeah, no, it's revolting, and that's why Taylor Swift, for instance, removed her music from the platform years ago. But Taylor Swift's a billionaire. She's not. And I think that's why it's important. I'm going to start talking about this more and more because we're hearing the voice of people that are already rich. They're already at that level, and it's easier for them to have a platform and be heard. But no one really truly knows what goes on for artists at my level who have a following, who have an audience, who are full-time artists, and just constantly put music out and are not getting paid for it.
And with the internet, you have the opportunities to come to Brazil because when there it was just radios and television in general, to get to know more artists in general, it was harder. But nowadays with the internet, it's more easy for you to know different artists, for you to come here to make partnerships with Brazilian artists. And even so, it's the recognition when we're talking about money. It's not, it doesn't come.
Yeah, money is not it's just the last thing that we get. And it's great, it's great to get likes. It's great to get followers. But I can't ask my followers to pay my bills, It's not how it works. But there is something amazing about it because we do we are in control of our scenario. If it was 20 years ago, you can't release a song without a label signing you. And again, but going back to what we were talking about earlier, is who's signing, who's making the decision. Some white guy that doesn't even have ears, who's not a musician, and is like, oh, this girl is cute, let's sign her. And then women that are like brown skin or dark skin, or like people that are bigger, like, you know, you have all sizes and shapes and beauty in different ways. They wouldn't necessarily get a voice back then, but now it's a different issue. Now it's you know, you can put your music out, and when the audience listens to it, the audience is speaking to you. They're saying something. If 40 million, you know, if people have listened to my song 40 million times, I think they're saying they like it. The thing is, they can listen to it as many times as they want and spend the same amount of money, which is $10 a month. And it doesn't make a difference for me in my bills. It would have to be like billions of dollars, billions of views, you know?
And that subject, it's very important for us to be talking about, and media in general, just to say that information to the public as well. Because I don't think the people who are listening to you, maybe they don't know that information.
They don't know. Yeah, they probably don't know. And, you know, I think when I said it was my destiny, like, I'm understanding more and more, like, the fact that I toured while pregnant, and that I was like, wait, you know, like, I did it because I wanted to, and I released an album and I needed to promote it. But I realized after I had my baby, I had no financial security, you know, and I thought about artists that are even smaller than me. Like, how do they do it? What are you supposed to do? Like, go, like, give birth and then go work at a coffee shop? Because if I'm not touring, I'm not making money, while people are just listening to my music all day long and I'm not getting checks. It has to change. Like, something has to change. It's just not okay.
And I wanted to ask you as well about your plans for 2024 and 2025. Do you intend to do more shows? Are you planning to get on the studio to record a new album? What is in your mind currently?
It's both of these things. I'm still promoting this album, which is amazing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Like, I just love to perform this music, and you know, performing here in Brazil for the first time. I'm going to tour in France, so I'm playing in new cities. I have a bunch of festivals this summer. So now it's like, you know, and I'm taking my baby around, and she gets to discover the world, which is great. And then at some point I'll get in the studio and start writing new music. I'm starting to feel the itch for writing.
Oh, all the artists, they have that. They have that feeling.
At some point it comes. Yeah. It's a cycle.
And to finish our interview, I wanted you to give our Brazilian fans any message. Do you have any message for your Brazilian fans?
Stay how you are. The Brazilian fans are amazing. Thank you. You know, what I'll say is, what you're doing, the way you guys are expressing your love and support is really felt. And we appreciate it. We see it in America. You guys have that reputation of being one of the warmest audience, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Adi, for being here with us for the talk. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you for giving me a platform to tell it like it is, like we say in America.